Hello. You find me in St Mary's Marlingford, which is one of my churches, and I'm here because I've been doing a little bit of filming for one of our online services this year, and it is my very most favourite service of Christmas, and it is Christingle. Now I understand that you are going to be learning a little bit about Christingle at school, and perhaps even making some Christingles of your own, and that's fantastic. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christingles, about all the little bits and bobs that we put onto a Christingle, but also a little bit about the history, where they come from, why on earth it is that we do this weird thing, sticking cocktail sticks and sweeties into an orange. And the most important bit, who we do it for. Because there is a reason why churches up and down the country hold Christingles, and it's very, very special. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that later as well. So I do hope you're going to enjoy this, and I'm really looking forward to telling you more about Christingle. Well, I'm back now in my nice warm home, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the history of Christingle. So Christingle didn't actually start in the UK. It began over in Germany with a Moravian bishop named Johann de Watteville, which I think is a great name. And he wanted to show God's love and God's happiness to people. And he was looking for a way to do that. So what he decided to do was he decided to wrap a ribbon or a red ruff around a candle as a sign of God's love. And we think it looked a little bit like this. So there's some bits of the Christingle that you might recognise. I wonder if you can see what those bits are, but it doesn't really look anything like the Christingles that we're used to today. Well, that's because just over 100 years later, in 1948, the first Christingle was held in the UK. And it was held by a man named John Pensome, and it was held at Lincoln Cathedral. So 2 years ago, we actually celebrated 50 years of Christingle. In 1970, there were only 20 Christingles being held in the UK, so it didn't catch on very quickly. But by 1980, the first Christingle was being held in Westminster Abbey, and by 1986, the word Christingle was in the dictionary. And at this point, Christingles looked a little bit different. They looked more like, but not exactly, like this. So we've still got the candle, we've got a red ribbon, some cocktail sticks, but on those cocktail sticks were fruit, dried fruits, and often peanuts. Which of course we can't use anymore because people have allergies to peanuts. It's quite dangerous. But that's what the first Christingles looked like in this country. They were full of fruit and nuts. And now, in usual years, instead of 20 churches in the country holding a Christingle, there are hundreds of churches that hold Christingles. And it's estimated that usually around about 1 million people each year attend some sort of Christingle service in this country. It's one of the most popular services that we have in our country at Christmas time. And Christingles are usually held anywhere from sort of around November time until about January time. Some people do it around about Epiphany when we celebrate the King's coming. And now, of course, Christingles look a little bit different. They don't have fruit and nuts on. Usually you'd see them looking a little bit more like, it will come down, here we go, a little bit more like this, with sweeties on. When I was little, we sort of had a combination. We often had nuts still on ours when I was young, and raisins, but also we started having sweeties put on our Christingles. So this is a little bit more like the Christingles that you would recognise. But actually Christingles have changed again. Some churches don't like the idea of you having a burning candle because they think it's a fire risk. So actually some Christingles now look more like this one that's coming up. like this. And that in the middle isn't a candle, it's a glow stick. You have to crack them and stick them into your Christingle. So some churches are a little bit worried about the fire aspect, so they have these glow sticks instead. So that's a little bit about the history of Christingle. So Christingles have always had symbolism. They've always represented something. So that very first Christingle back in 1747 in Germany represented God's love and happiness at Christmas time. Our Christingles today have got more symbolism in them. So some of you will already know what the different bits of the Christingle represent, but I'm just going to go through them quickly again. So on the picture, you should be able to see an orange. Now, traditionally, Christingles have been an orange, but I understand there may be some talk of you using some different fruits for your Christingle, which is absolutely fine. And in our do-it-yourself Christingle that we're doing with church, I say it doesn't really matter what fruit you use. You can pick something you like. But Christingles traditionally have been an orange, and the orange represents the world, and the world that God loved and created and made. And into that orange, of course, we put 4 cocktail sticks, and each of the cocktail sticks represents a season. So the 4 seasons that God made. The sweets or fruit, if you're being healthy, that you put onto those cocktail sticks represent the fruits of the earth and have come to also represent God's good gifts to us. Because of course, in the seasons, if we didn't have the seasons, we wouldn't have all the fruits and vegetables that we grow. And those, of course, are good gifts that God gives us. Then the red ribbon that circles the earth represents Jesus's blood. So the blood that he shed on the cross. But it also represents God's love, which is wrapped around the earth. So that's the red ribbon. And then last but not least, we have the candle, which we put into the center of the Christingle. And that, of course, represents Jesus being the light of the world, and the light of the world, which came to us at Christmas. So that's what all the bits of the Christingle mean. Now, I also said that I was going to explain who Christingle was for. Well, you might think, oh, well, it's for all the people who come to the service. That's who Christingle is for. But actually, the first Christingles in this country were held for the Children's Society, and that still holds true today. The churches in this country hold Christingles because they want to support the work that this society does, and it's really important. The Children's Society support young people and children in this country, particularly young carers, refugee children, and children who are living in poverty, who don't have a lot of money. And the Children's Society provide face-to-face help for these children, but it also goes to really important people in this country, the leadership of our country, and it talks to them about the needs of young people and children in our society. So they do some really, really important work. And that's why churches up and down this country hold Christingles. And in actual fact, no Christingle should take place without a donation being made to the Children's Society. So I hope that you are doing something for them as you are holding your Christingle. So that is a little bit about the history of Christingle, why we do Christingle, and what Christingle represents. So I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about Christingle this afternoon. And I'd really love to invite you to join us for our Christingle service, which is on the 20th of December, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. There are details in the Grapevine magazine, so do point your parents in that direction to find out the link to join us. But hopefully if you were to search the Eastern Benefice and Christingle, you would find it. But that's going to be on the 20th of December. We're going to be making more Christingles, or you can just bring your own Christingle that you've made at school along, and that will be fantastic.
It's been really wonderful to talk to you about Christingle this afternoon, and I do hope that you've learned something. Bye-bye.